Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week on Tent Talk, we're talking about doing all the things to get ready for the start of peak farmers market season. Hi, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime Farmers Market Manager, Vendor 101 co-teacher, and Education Coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active Farmers Market Manager and consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer, marketing director for Farmers Market Pros, and logistics coordinator for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, coming right up.
Right up.
It is rapidly approaching, ladies.
Is it like a couple weeks away?
We're
right?
ready,
So
yes. So
Yes.
we're
Yes.
3 weeks out?
2, I think, maybe.
Oh, my gosh. I haven't stopped counting. Let's not
Let's
count.
not count.
Let's
Let's
just
not count.
keep...
Who's counting?
Who's counting?
That's right.
But we're very excited to see everybody. The weather is divine.
Weather's lovely. If I was a farmers market manager that had a seasonal market, before I plunged into all that, I'd come to San Diego and hang out in the sun, get a little boost from my peers,
Get
meet
some
new people.
vitamin D.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Vitamin D and a little vitamin I for inspiration.
Bump. Vitamin S for sun.
That too.
Keep going. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good one.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast, is supported by California Palms, offering durable market tents in a variety of sizes to fit any footprint, and market accessories from berry baskets to digital scales. California Palms ships market canopies and supplies throughout the U.S., and we've used their tents at our markets for years. To order tents, reusable bags, and more, click on the California Palms logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
I love a California Palms tent.
There's, yeah.
It's not
they're
part of
easy.
the ad, but
Yeah.
that makes a difference.
They're easy to pop up.
I have found myself speaking to lots of people about tents lately, just because, I feel like after the winter and like it rains a little bit and there's wind and it's like you're schlepping it around and you do a bunch of holiday pop-ups, so your tent is getting like a lot of wear and tear.
Then you put it in your truck wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pull it out the next week and it's all...
Ugh, and like the screws are all coming loose and stuff. Anyways, it just makes a difference to get a good tent.
It does.
Those little like Target tents, they don't stand up to the farmers market.
They just can't handle
Farmers
it.
market
They can't
life.
handle it. They can't hang. Anyways, little add on to your ad. All right, well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. This week we are discussing how to gear up for the start of farmers market season. If you have a farmers market that starts and ends seasonally, or your peak season maybe for your farmers market, which we have a year-round market, and I do feel like there is definitely like an ebb and flow, and coming into the spring season feels like it revs up a lot. We get a lot, the crops are different. We get all those fun spring and start of summer crops, and then lots of applications flowing in and all that stuff. So
It does. I think farmers do a new crop plan and thing early in the year, and so you start to see new things pop up for spring. So, yeah. Our winter markets are great.
yeah,
Yeah, but there's something about a spring market.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it feels like a different season, even if you're in a place where the seasons don't change so much because the crops are different and it's just a different feeling at the market.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't experience this as much in San Diego because it's gorgeous here year-round, but there is that feeling in the spring where, like, people are kind of getting excited.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
that, like, those first couple of days where it's, like, you don't have to bundle up as much as you have been the last couple months, and there is that kind of just, like, fresh excitement for going outside and eating good food.
Yeah. And if you have an evening market, as the spring progresses with daylight savings or, whatever's happening in your part of the country, maybe it's lighter later at your market,
Yeah.
which to me always felt like, thank
It's a whole
goodness.
new year.
Like
Yeah.
I made it through the darkness. So it seems like a new year in the spring.
That's true.
That's fun.
And then, of course, there are markets around the country that have a limited season that are only open from March to October.
Yep.
So a little stretch in there. Although we're seeing a lot of those extend their seasons. I think because growers can extend their season with hoop houses and things. And we're seeing a lot of people that have figured out how to move inside for winter markets. We're seeing more and more year-round markets, but there's still folks that are just open for that one season.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So,
What do you want to do to get ready for that new season, the peak season, or the grand opening of your market for the year?
yeah, and we recognize that this episode is coming out in mid to late February. So, we just want to acknowledge that farmers market managers, even if you have a seasonal market, you're not just hibernating during the winter. You're doing lots of things all week long, all year long to get ready for your market season. So we're not living in the world where we think that you just haven't been doing anything
Coming
for the
off
last
your
couple months.
vacation. Yeah.
You run a farmer's market. What do you do the other 6 days? We're not those people.
Yeah, so we know you're working behind the scenes all year round. So we're kind of organizing this episode and things that you can do a couple months ahead of time, a couple weeks ahead of time, and a couple of days ahead of time, assuming that your market has a grand opening day for the season.
And if anything, that can feel like a little bit more work than us year-round folks because you're trying to remind everybody, remember this market is here during these months instead of, we are in their face every week with it and they can come weekly year-round. If you have a seasonal market, you have to really get people back in the habit of coming out and shopping at the market.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like that grand opening approach every year.
Yep,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so what can you do a few months ahead of time? And the first one I put here is just get inspired.
Sure.
Because especially during the darkness of the winter, when it's really cold outside or it's hard to get up in the morning, and especially if your market has been not open for the last couple of months, you got to dust off that dust of getting back in the flow of it and getting excited about it. And sometimes just reconnecting with your purpose as a market manager or a farmer's market operator is a good place to start.
Yeah. Start thinking of some new programs you want to try this season or systems or kind of, tweak some things that didn't work so well last year and just kind of think of new ways to run your market so you can get more excited and it doesn't feel like a drag.
Well, and a good way to do that is touch base with your community of peers, your fellow market managers, your fellow vendors. We've got a really robust online private group in Facebook at this point, and that can be a really good way to kind of touch base and hear answers to the questions that are forming in your brain about what do I do this year. And there's a lot of people asking the same questions and a lot of people jumping in with good answers, so that can be handy. Our conference and other conferences, great way to meet other people that are in your world and get a feel for best practices and new ideas and kind of get revved up.
Yeah, for sure. And even if this is old hat for you and this is your 10th season that you're going into, really, we are all, we're seasoned market managers, and every year at our conference or at other conferences that we've attended as well, I always am finding new ideas and just getting really excited. And even if it's not a big new project I'm going to do, just feeling there are people like me going through the same things. I don't have to feel so alone. I can try these little things to make my job a little bit easier, make my market better.
It reminds you, too, that people admire what you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're hard on ourselves and we don't realize what a great job we do. So meeting other market managers and say, oh, I've been to your market. That's an amazing market. Or praising an idea that you have to bring people out and make them excited. It's a fun thing. So Intense, the Farmers Market Conference in March in San Diego. That's ours. Lots of other conferences coming up. There's a big conference in Pennsylvania. California Small Farm Conference, I think, is right upon us as this episode comes out. Washington Farmers Market Association Conference, the Indiana Conference, and Alberta, Canada. And I'm actually speaking at the California Small Farm Conference, the Indiana Conference, and the Alberta Conference. So you'll be hearing a lot from me.
You can follow Kat on tour.
That's right. That's right.
You can have
be a cat head.
Yeah.
Kind of a virtual tour this year. It's actually more fun if you can go.
For sure.
Honestly.
Yes.
But online can be very inspiring as well.
There's also, if you live in a state where you have a farmers market association in your state, like Virginia has one, and we also a couple months ago, I guess this was a year ago, this one, we talked to the Chicago farmers market group. So you can connect with them. Also, just getting inspired, going on, Farmers Market Coalition's website, brushing up on some nutrition incentive programs or, listening to podcasts. Just kind of getting in the zone, get yourself pumped up.
Yeah. What else can we do to get ready? Definitely make sure your staff is all trained. This is something I think just do it now, even if you're 6 weeks out. Just do it now. Just start. Just go.
Making sure you have staff in place.
For sure.
And we have not been totally immune to the Great Resignation thing, and people for various reasons have moved out of town or are still home with their kids waiting to see if school's going to be in person this week and, all the things. So you may need to hire additional staff.
Yeah. I think farmers markets can sometimes be a good fit for people who have resigned or left or taking a break from a full-time job, if it's just staff that you need at the market, maybe they are moms and they can't, work during the week because there's no after-school program at their kids' school, so they have to pick them up, and they can't be doing a regular job, or maybe their school's going in between virtual and in person. But a weekend farmers market, they can be a really great staffer and a great asset at your market on the weekend. So kind of look for maybe some new pools of people that you haven't looked at before. Younger people that are looking for a job through a season, if they're in town for the season, or if they're just looking for something seasonally, if your market is seasonal, getting those people on board can be maybe easier this go round. But don't just think it's going to happen. Go out there and get those hiring processes started and get that training in place for sure.
Yeah. Also, if your market does utilize volunteers, you don't want to wait until the week before the market to start asking people to come help you out. So, if you've used volunteers in the past, to start, tapping those people on the shoulders, letting them know that this opportunity is coming up again. And then if you haven't used volunteers before, or it hasn't been successful for you at your market before, we have a really great session at our conference coming up. Tracy Frey is going to be talking about all things volunteering and how to make that work for you in your market.
Keep them inspired.
Yeah,
for sure. Getting your vendors in gear. So making sure your vendors are still in the vendor world, because we know how that goes sometimes. Making sure your farmers are still out there farming and, checking in with them, touching base, getting those vendor and farmer kind of emails started and circulating, getting information to them, real solid, detailed information. What day are you starting? Is the setup the same? Is the location the same? All those things. Send all the info. Don't just assume that they're going to come, that they're going to remember and they're going to come. Things are changing, and I'm sure it changes season to season. Even those old farmers and vendors that have been with you for a long time, just check in with them.
Yeah. And check in, make sure that they're selling the same thing. Sometimes vendors, I was making banana bread, but now I'm going to make macarons. And sometimes you just have to be like, okay, well, if you're going to do that at the market and sell at my market, you have to make sure that flies with the rest of my market. So just checking in, getting updates on what crops your farmers are going to have this season, or what your prepared food, what's on the menu this season, and just making sure that all still aligns with the vision of your market, and making sure that you're not going to have too much of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And getting everybody in gear.
Still balanced.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Think about your curating.
Yeah.
And if you have some new vendors or new prospective vendors, little plug for our Vendor 101 online course. It is really helpful. It can save you a lot of time kind of explaining to people that are, newer to the farmers market vendor scene, kind of the basics, and then also the details and nitty-gritty about how to really get their booth on the ground. If they have a product that your market is in need of, they can take our course. It's national.
Yeah, and if any food makers or farmers out there are listening to this episode, getting ready for the spring season is important for you too. And this is one way to get inspired, is just kind of doing a little education, getting back in the swing of things. And Vendor 101, even if you aren't a new vendor, it can be a great way to kind of brush back up on some of those display techniques or sales techniques, and just getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, kind of a refresh. It's always good.
Yep.
Vendor applications, you want to make sure that you're processing applications. Some markets, and we're seeing some notices on this in various places, Instagram and email newsletters that we get and things, start their application process over again all year. Other markets are, you've just got a continuing automatically renewing reservation with your farmers and vendors, but some of them start fresh every year. So if that's what's happening with you, make sure you really work to get that word out and let people know when the deadline is for applying. Make it easy to find your application. Let them know. Time to jump back in the pool.
Oh, that sounds really hard to get farmers to respond to a deadline like that.
It does.
So start now.
A little hand-holding probably happens.
Yeah.
They're busy too. And I'm sure farmers coming out of a winter season, they are probably so hard at work on their farm just prepping for a seasonal change. So really give them that time to pay attention to those emails coming in and fill out the applications, decide which markets they're going to participate in, and those things.
Lots of reminders, for sure.
Lots of reminders.
All right. Another thing is, if you did take a little rest on this during the winter, you're going to want to get back in gear and get back in the flow of consistent marketing. we talk about this a lot, and we just came out, or we're working on a new course called Marketing for Markets. And one of the thesis statement of this course is marketing isn't just something you do once and then say, check it off your to-do list and say, oh, I'm so glad that marketing is done. It's something you have to keep doing over and over and over and over. And if your market is seasonal and you wrapped up your season in November and it's been a little while since you checked in on your MailChimp or your email newsletter, it's time to get back in the flow of things and start sending out those regular email newsletters and consistently posting on your social media accounts. And if you're a couple months out, you can kind of dip your toe back into that, maybe doing it, once every 2 weeks or so. But you're going to want to start to amp that up in preparation for the reopening of your market for the season.
Yeah, for sure. You actually can do some kind of analog, old school marketing right now, too. Now's the time to run a contest for somebody to design your poster for this year and get flyers out into coffee houses and things near your market and let the community know you're about to be back. Don't park on that street. We're going to have tents there soon.
Oh, yeah, we didn't put this on the list, but put your no parking signs back up.
For sure.
Put them out early and just let the neighbors know, because nothing can sour opening day of your market like an angry neighbor whose car got towed. But yeah, just reminder not to post, 2 days before your market for the first time in 4 months.
Yeah.
Hey, the market's in a couple days, don't forget. So start it now and kind of gradually build that up. You'll get a lot better response and a lot better shopper traffic at the market, which will benefit you, obviously, and then all those farmers and vendors that are coming out first day.
Yeah, you want them to be excited.
Yeah. And you can tell all your vendors and farmers and everybody associated with the market, like, hey, you need to ramp up your Instagram too. All those food vendors that maybe did holiday pop-ups or they took a little rest over the last month or so, tell them like, hey, okay, now's the time you need to start talking about the market. So you may have been talking about other things in your business, but start mentioning that you're going to be selling in these farmers markets come spring.
That's a great idea, to remind your farmers and vendors to include the market in their marketing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just aren't thinking about it, and they're not maybe doing it on purpose, like neglecting talking about the market, because they're like, well, I'll just show up and the market's doing all of that. But if you can get that kind of cooperative push of reminding everybody at once, it will really make a big difference.
Yeah, it's exponential. When you have a lot of people talking about the same thing, it just grows and grows and grows. So a quick email to your farmers and vendors with a short to-do list. Post to Instagram, mention your markets.
Make sure they have your right handles.
Check the quality of your tent.
Yeah. Get that tent.
Make sure you still have that tent.
Make sure that tent's not folded up wet in your shed. And if you haven't, I might want to air that out a little bit. And if maybe you have never done an email newsletter before, or you don't have an Instagram, or you don't have some of these tools, or maybe they're just kind of been sitting there and haven't been used to their full potential, now is a great time. I mean, it's never too late to do it. You don't think, oh, I've never done this. It's too late. My market's been open for 3 years. I can't start now. Absolutely start now. Yeah. This is your year to do it. I'm giving you permission. Like, this is go forward and start that email newsletter and get that Instagram and Facebook dusted off and revved up and zhuzhed up.
Yeah. Or if you do have those things and they've just been not working for you or lying dormant, now's the time kind of clean them up, get them ready. And then that way, at least on the first weekend or the first week your market is open, then you can say, okay, now I'm starting fresh. I have my email newsletter sign up on this clipboard at my info booth, and I have a QR code for my Instagram handle. Just kind of get all that stuff ready to go where you can start again the first weekend of the market.
For sure. Get a fresh banner, all those things. There's a million things you could do. Don't try to do all million things, but pick a couple key things that you can do at once. We're not trying to overwhelm you here. What else can we do? Make plans for big events or programs that you plan to host at the market. So maybe set up a little pencil in your calendar for the season. National Farmers Market, it might seem like it's far away, but
it's only in August.
It's going
to come up quick, especially once your market is really, going hard during the summer season. It's hard to plan anything because you're just so focused on each week making that market happen. So if you have a little time now where you're not worrying about, popping up tents and moving barricades and dealing with vendors in that way, if you can kind of set a vision for what your season's going to look like. National Farmers Market Week is coming up the first week of August. Maybe you have a little time for a chef demo. Kind of get those stuff on your calendar before it's peak season and you don't have a moment to plan anything.
Absolutely. And Farmers Market Coalition has a great resource kit for that. And so especially if you want to do things like get the mayor out to your market or get official proclamations for National Farmers Market Week in your town, you want to start that early because those folks stay busy. They calendar way ahead. So putting those just little save the dates out to them right now, in March or April, saying just could you get this on your August calendar? You'll have a lot better chance of getting folks to show up. They show up, then the press shows up, and you give a nice boost to your market.
Yeah, and even do stuff like look at the, what day does 4th of July fall on the calendar this year? Decide whether your market's going to be open that day. Get that stuff figured out, and then you can let your vendors know way ahead of time, like, okay, we're going to be open this day, or we're going to be open Labor Day, or we're going to be open Memorial Day. Figure that all out now so you're not having to make those decisions when the market is already open.
And your vendors are maybe assumed that it'd be closed, but you're going to be open, so then your market is half full.
Right.
That's snuck up on us before. So take a word to the wise. Just give them a calendar and let them know. And then it's something to look forward to and something for them to plan too. Mother's Day weekend, remind your flower vendors and your gift vendors and your chocolatiers and any farmer that you have growing strawberries and things like that. Give them some ideas. Hey, get prepped for this, and let's talk about that a couple weeks in advance and really knock it out of the park this year.
Yeah.
For all those special events.
Great idea.
Okay, so what can we do a few weeks ahead of time?
Yep.
Well, we've mentioned checking your tent, making sure that it's not wet in a storage room somewhere.
Pop your tent and make sure all the screws are still in there and they didn't fall out.
If you can invest this year in a custom tent, this is the time to order it. So you may want to get something with your logo or, a really good look. That takes a little bit of time to produce, so jump on that and get it ordered right now.
That's a good point, actually. Think about supply chain issues that are still going on. So if you're planning on ordering market swag or a new tent or T-shirts or things like that, just do it a little bit. Give yourself a little more time than you typically would for those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcy at Blue Owl works with us for the conference and for a lot of the swag at our farmers markets that we manage. And I know we ran into having to kind of maneuver through the catalog this year to make sure that we picked items that could get delivered on time because supply chains are a little bit weird right now. You don't want your market T-shirts or your reusable bags sitting in a container off of Long Beach.
Yeah.
You want them at your market tent.
It's a good excuse to maybe look around and see what's local and available to you for your market.
Yeah, great idea. Also, with your info booth, take stock of your EBT and market match. Make sure you have enough coins or tokens or vouchers or whatever system you use. Make sure that you have enough for a busy season.
Yep. Check your terminal. Make sure that battery lasts. Another word to the wise. If you haven't used it, maybe turn it on, leave it on all day, and make sure because those batteries give out. And you can always, order new equipment or trade things in. So just make sure everything is working so that your first market and your first, month of the market, things are going smoothly and you don't start off on a stressful and frustrated foot.
What do those producers say? You always have a rehearsal. If you're smart, you do it without an audience.
That's smart.
That's right.
That is definitely
get ahead.
That definitely is for markets as well. And then take a look at your signage. Update your flyers or other takeaway info. Any kind of like posters you have at your booth or directional signage and things like that. Just check every piece of that, just so you don't have those surprises like in the very last week leading up or the day of.
And you still have time to order a QR code. You can kind of update things and modernize.
Yeah.
Jump into 2022.
I mean, the way the 2021 season ended, who knows? The world is still wild right now and always will be. But maybe policies have changed in your area or your market looks a little bit different this coming spring than it did at the end of last season. So if you have any market rules or things that the public needs to know about your market, just make sure that signage is printed and you update all those items.
Yep. For sure. That's a good point to make, actually, because rules have probably gone up and down and shifted here and there since, March 2020. And so make sure, what your signage says is correct to whenever you open. Again, it might change. And then make sure you're maybe kind of zhuzh up your farmers market rules and guidelines so they know what time they need to arrive on site, what time they need to be open for business, what are your rules about closing down early or those kind of things. Just remind everybody of that and just start out with those guidelines and rules. Sometimes as market managers, I know I can kind of feel like I'm like harping on the vendors and like nagging and maybe being too much with the information and the rules. But the feedback that we've received over the many years from a lot of vendors is that they appreciate how clearly we communicate and consistently communicate with them so they know what is expected of them.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know, and then they do something that they didn't know they shouldn't be doing, or they didn't know was such a big deal to us, and then we're upset with them, it puts them in a position where they just feel awkward or uncomfortable with the market. So just start off with that clear communication to them. Let them know what the expectations are for this market season, how it's going to go. Tell them some fun things you have lined up so they know your value and that the work that you're putting into the market. And I feel like it'll be a much better season for you if you start off like that.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
All good tips.
Yep.
Press releases, this is the time to be doing it. Get those out and connect with your local media outlets. Farmers markets are beautiful. They make great backgrounds, and TV stations in particular love to come out and talk about the new market season because all those fruits and vegetables and flowers just look pretty behind their anchors.
Yeah,
that's right.
Especially right now, I think a lot of local news outlets, they're looking for good stories, and they're looking
they want some good news.
for pretty visuals. And, things you could talk about are the small businesses that your market supports, the nutrition incentives or food access that your market provides to the community, just the pretty visuals.
How to beat supply chain issues.
Yeah, the fact that it's spring and, the season is changing and stuff like that. So those are all talking points that, or if your market is doing, planning a new initiative, or you are going to declare a day for National Farmers Market Week in the summer. Like, all of those things are things that you can be talking about in your press release, or even if it's just a blurb that you send out to the local news station. It doesn't have to be complicated, but they all have deadlines and they're busy too. So make sure you get them stuff ahead of time. So if they do have time to come out to opening day, they can plan for it.
For sure. And that you can get, the good news slot and, be more prominent if you give them a little more notice versus someone just scrambling out at the last minute for some B-roll. So, yeah, just explaining it, the safety of shopping outdoors and things like that. I mean, make it relevant. And, like you said, I feel like news stations are probably they're clamoring for good news because it's been too much bad news,
Right. Yep.
So kind of keep that rolling.
Yeah. Also, a couple weeks ahead of time, if you have any local community groups that you'd like to invite out to the market, or any dignitaries that you want to be there on your opening day, maybe you do a big, ring or bell ringing ceremony, or you do something to kick off the market season. You should be planning now of who you want to come to that, who is going to ring the bell, or who's going to, kick it off, and make sure you have those invites set out and you're organizing that now.
Yeah, we've often used chefs to come out and cut a ribbon or, declare the market open, and then walk people through the market on that first day and kind of point out what they shop for. People love to follow the chefs around. And that's
a fun idea.
Yeah, and they're usually really happy to come out. It gives them a little exposure, so it's good for everybody.
Yeah, restaurants kind of come out of a little winter season as well.
That's true.
Even though they're open year-round, it's like they want to maybe talk about their new menu or just remind people that their restaurant's open and it's, ready for everyone to come out. So kind of pull the community in, for sure.
Yeah. All right. What can we do a few days ahead of time when it's really crunch time?
Down to the countdown.
Well, take a deep breath. Make sure you're getting some rest.
Confirm all your farmers and vendor schedules.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's really key because you don't want to be posting on social media about people that have been thrown off schedule by the last couple of years and won't be there on opening day. Maybe they're planning to start a little later in the season. You want to know all of those things. So be sure you get your farmers and vendor schedule confirmed, lined up, whether you're using a spreadsheet or you're using MarketWorks and plugging in the dates that they've confirmed. It's a good idea to nail everything down so that can inform your social media roll-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just because you had a conversation on the phone in December and they said they were coming, let's not count on that. Email's a great way to confirm because then you have it in writing, and just make sure that they're going to be there, and just, again, be really clear and communicative with your vendors and your farmers and say, hey, please confirm that you'll be here at the market on this day.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of times if you give them an incentive, so when I'm rolling up with a new schedule and I want to confirm people, a lot of times I'll say, hey, please confirm that you'll be here before X date because I want to start our promotion. So when they understand that they're going to get a chance to be featured in your email newsletters and your social and that kind of thing, what's in it for them makes them a little bit more likely to respond promptly.
For sure. And they might not be thinking about that. They're like, oh, I'll just tell them later. But, remind them. If you confirm, then we're going to put you in this list of vendors and it's going to be sent out to everywhere. Might be included in the press release.
Right.
Someone might come out and talk to you personally about being in the market and things like that. There's just more opportunities for people who confirm early So keep
and I think that's really helpful too. If you do have any, local news coming out or a reporter coming to your market or the mayor's going to be there, let your vendors know and say maybe wear your nice farming clothes to the market that day, or maybe pull a comb through your hair. Or if you are going to, have a specific vendor or farmer featured, maybe give them some tips on, hey, put this thing right in front because it looks really good, or position your booth this way, and just kind of help them out and make sure that they're camera ready as well.
That's right.
Make sure you're wearing your uniform shirt that says your business name on it. I know that we've had news come out to our market plenty of times, and when I tell people hey, take your sweater off so they can see your T-shirt with your farm name on it, so that gets on camera, the people, the farmers are like, oh, yeah, that's amazing. And then, they just love the way it looks rather than just someone standing back there with the jean jacket. It's like, oh, that's clearly this farmer and it has their logo on it. So it just makes a big difference. And then they know that you're kind of caring about wrapping them in.
Yeah. And if you do have people, sometimes we've had the news come to the market and then the market is so insanely busy because people saw it that morning on the news, and make sure that your vendors know, hey, it might be a really bumping day. So make sure you bring a lot of product, make sure you're ready to go, make sure your staff is well trained and you have lots of water to drink and good shoes to stand up in all day, and just prep them for a busy day.
For sure. Yeah. And just remind them, hey, a lot of new people might be coming out. People might be adopting new shopping habits, or people who made New Year's resolutions to shop local. They've been waiting for the market to open so that they can put those resolutions to the test. So really come with your A game. Please keep that A game throughout the entire season. But on the first couple of days, or first couple of market days, for sure, make sure you're just giving it your all, even if it's a smaller market and you only get those core, 20, 50 customers. Show those customers your best offerings, and so they keep coming back, because what matters is those people making a habit of shopping. Doesn't really matter if you get tens of thousands of people. It matters that people are coming out consistently and that they're buying from you every week. That's what keeps the market going.
That's right.
Yeah. And then also making sure, just on social media, your email newsletters, that the days leading up to the market, that you're really clear when the market opens. Where's your market located? What street is it on?
All Pro tip, use the actual date instead of, I see so many posts that say, grand opening Saturday. It's like, okay. Which Saturday?
Or even just say, I think about this a lot when I'm posting on our market account, is even if you say market opens tomorrow, that post might show up on somebody's feed 3 days from now. So make sure that you're saying tomorrow, Saturday, March 25th, or whatever the date is. It seems really redundant or annoying to you because when the market opens. But people that haven't been paying attention for the last 6 months, they're going to be so happy when that post shows up on their feed, and they're going to be like, ooh, the market's opening, and really look forward to it. So make sure you're including all that information the couple of days leading up to your market, or the couple of weeks, every single post. Include the hours of your market, the day it's open, and where they can find you.
Location, tips on parking, remind them to bring a reusable bag, those kind of things. Help them help you.
Help them help you help them.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so everybody's ready?
Everyone's ready that we did our job. Okay,
counting
guys,
it down?
You're all set to go.
All right. You're good to go. Just start counting. It's going to be another exciting market season. And knock wood, I have a feeling that 2022 is going to be a little easier.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of new people met farmers markets while things were tough.
It's true.
Yeah, and I just think we're going to be moving this year.
Yeah, I feel like we're integrated into people's lives now in a way that we weren't before.
I do too.
And they've been doing it for a while now. It's we're on year 3 of this, so everybody knows.
I think everybody's refreshed. They're loyal. They're ready to come out, make it easy for them, welcome them, and have a great year.
That's right.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today, and big thanks to California Palms for shipping high-quality canopies to markets throughout the U.S. to keep all of us out of the weather and building our market brands. Find more information and order your tents and market supplies by clicking the California Palms logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Join us and your fellow market participants at the 6th annual Intense the Farmers Market Conference in San Diego, California on March 7th, 8th, and 9th, 2022 to grow your market and your community. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcast, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week. Tune in.